This podcast was brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use our affiliate code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we're talking about MagicCon Las Vegas 2024. We just got back last night around 2 a.m. It is currently around 11 a.m. the next day, so not even 12 hours later. We got our brains still full of memories from the weekend. We're going to talk about how it went, the amount of games that we played. Spoilers, I was not able to get 30 games on Roxai. I tried very hard. 30 is a lot of fucking games, but I got close. We're going to talk about all that today.
Yeah, so we actually were at Vegas for the longest amount of time that we've ever been at a MagicCon, actually.
Yeah, we went there on Wednesday night and we left Monday night. It just worked out better that it was like a little bit cheaper if we left at weirder times, sort of. So we had an extra day Thursday in Las Vegas before the convention.
Exactly, but by the time we showed up, our hotel didn't have water Wednesday night.
Yes, the initial situation, there was a leak or something. I don't know. We were in line for like an hour and 45 minutes or something ridiculous waiting to find out that our hotel didn't have water. We decided to stay anyway. And the next day when it still didn't have water, we went to a different hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had a fun little...
a good beginning to the weekend.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But everything smoothed out very quickly after that.
Thursday, we still had an awesome time traveling along Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a town that I think is extremely difficult to navigate around, and I think that's like super on purpose. Every single path that you take, there's like a gigantic casino sign, and then this little hole over here, which is where you actually need to go, but your like mouse brain in Vegas is like, oh yeah, let's see what the labyrinth is.
Well, I think it's even worse than usual because they're preparing for is it Formula One that was going to be coming through in the beginning of November, right? So like probably like when this is coming out, Formula One might even be going on at that time.
Right, yeah, so they had like these big metal posts everywhere, and they were setting up lights, so that actually probably did add a lot of chaos to it.
And it was definitely fucking up traffic all over the place, too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Roller coasters. We didn't get to go to the one park, but we got to do the Big Apple.
No! Who knew that the Adventure Dome was closed on Thursdays, but open on Mondays?
Yeah, you would think we would have double-checked that, but no, we did not, and yeah, it was not open.
No, me planning ahead?
No.
Why would I do that?
Big Apple, though, that was cool.
We did do the Big Apple coaster, which is right along the very south end of the Strip. It's like one of the last things at the 2 miles that are the Las Vegas Strip that's there.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's at the New York Hotel and Casino, and it's the only operating Togo coaster in America right now.
Which is a brand.
That's
like
a
company,
manufacturer.
a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, there used to be a bunch of other Togos out there in America. They have a lot of quality coasters, you could call them, in like Asia and a couple European countries too. That's where they're primarily located around.
But not in America.
But not in America.
This is the only one you said?
This is the only one currently still operating in America. Yeah, it's not. They built others that were junk, and they actually got sued over a coaster that they built. Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't tell me that until after we rode the roller coaster.
Yeah, they don't have the greatest reputation in the community.
Unfortunately. What did you think about the Big Apple, though?
I kind of liked the Big Apple. It used to be really janky, I used to hear, but I know that in 2021 it got new trains from Premier Rides, and that really helped it. There were still a couple of like weird janky moments in it where like you go into the loop and like the loop is a lot of fun, but like you can also feel like, oh, this isn't like a smooth loop.
No, it was. I thought thinking it was very slow, and it felt like it was like a demonstration of what a roller coaster is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was just like. Basically, I felt like I was learning how the physics of roller coasters worked. It went just fast enough.
Honestly, it felt like something that someone built in Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
Because like the pacing, as you're saying, is horrible.
Yeah.
Like there's so many times where like you just slow down at like the top of a hill to this really weird slow speed. And maybe it's because like it's colder than normal there, but like
I don't know, it was still like 80 degrees.
Right,
It was
it's still
warm.
So it's not like here in Pennsylvania where it's 50 degrees and it really slows down a coaster or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pacing was very weird. It's a hyper coaster. It's like 205 feet, we found out, and the first drop is 144 feet, and it sucks. That first drop is not very good. But you go over another hill and you really slow down at the top of this one, but it like kind of allows you to see the Statue of Liberty that's there and get like a really good view of like the Strip from where you're at, especially like the Excalibur that's on your right, which is this big castle building that we'll get to later.
Which, as we saw on the roller coaster, I'm like, ooh, castle.
Castle.
After we got off the roller coaster, like, let's go to the castle.
Bunch of 13-year-olds in Vegas.
Yeah. The Big Apple was, I had a good time. My stomach was
really cool.
upside down afterwards, and so I was glad we only did it the one time, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, me too. The last thing I'll say about it is the dive loop is really fun.
That's this, like the corkscrew type of, is that what that is?
Yeah, where like we went in from the top and
Yeah.
flipped upside down before finishing the loop coming down forward, if you'll remember.
Yeah.
That one was so much fun. We spent so much more time upside down before the loop part than I thought that we were going to. It's a really cool hang time effect.
Yeah, it wasn't too scary. I'll say that. I wasn't too scared.
Did you like that ride more than Air Force One? If we were gonna rank those two coasters,
Air Force One I felt was too much.
Really?
It was so fast and
Wow.
aggressive. Like
Oh,
I
man.
don't like that. As a non-coaster fan, I like the ones like what's the one Hydra at Dorney Park that's like very slow.
You like that one?
I like that one more because I like it slower rather than faster.
That's so fun. Every enthusiast would probably say that Air Force One is a better ride.
I'm sure.
than-
Yeah, I don't like roller coasters though, so I'm like I want the less roller coastery one.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you enjoyed that experience
Yeah.
more because there's going to be a lot more rides like that we'll get to ride and less like elite stuff that
Yes, at
we'll
future
end up
cons.
running into. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, and we ended up walking the entirety of the strip back to our hotel.
Yep.
And then walking the entirety of the strip back to the Excalibur where we just were.
Right. The reason that we did that is because we went to the Excalibur. We had to purchase tickets, but since I wanted a vegan thing, they're like, well, we need 4 hours to do that.
Oh my God, yeah, and it was like 2:06.
It was 2:06. So there was a 6 o'clock show that we missed by 7 minutes, or we could do the 8:30 one. So we walked like 2 hours home, and it was like a mile, maybe 2 miles away that we were.
So it was 3.1.
Okay, 3.1 miles, and it took us 2 hours because it's just so convoluted to
Yeah.
get back. We walked all the way back again, and then Excalibur was awesome. It was like medieval times. There was a whole show. There was fireworks inside. The guy had a flamethrower in
Yeah,
medieval
one of the,
times.
I don't want to spoil the plot.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no
Don't
spoilers.
want to spoil the plot, but there were a couple things that like came up beforehand that like also kind of spoiled what some of the plot would be. Like all of the areas, sort of like medieval times, whereas instead of choosing like a color that you sit at and like you cheer for the black and white knight, like I did one time that I went, we got like sat in a country seat.
Right. So we were in Romania.
And there were like a bunch of other European countries, and then one other one called Dragon.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, I wonder who the villain's gonna be.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a great time. That was that was super.
It was a great time. If you've
Yeah.
never eaten a full Cornish game hen with your hands, like this is a great place to go to get that experience checked off too.
Should we talk about the actual MagicCon of the Magic?
Let's get into MagicCon. 'Cause
Yeah.
Now we're going into Friday, and this is when MagicCon actually starts.
Had a great time. So the first thing we do, learn to play with Lua for the cEDH from like 10 to 2 on Friday, where we're teaching new players cEDH a little bit.
Yeah, we were hanging out in the content creator area. I started off playing a couple games with Tyler, and you had your own pod that was going on.
I remember you having like a Doomsday situation where you were in like a 2-hour game to start the whole weekend off.
In our 4-hour window, I got 2 games in because we played with these two people that it was their first time playing cEDH, and one of them had just started playing in June. And it was awesome to see how far they've come in like such a short time with it because they did really well with these decks. And Tyler's a much better teacher than I am too, so I'm so glad that he was there as well.
Yeah.
To like remember to explain what Underworld Breach lines are and that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. At one point, I know one of them was on Rograk Silas, and the other one was on Yuriko.
Sure.
And we were like talking about like, oh, this is some things that like you could do as a Yuriko player, like reminding them that you never have to pay command tax and like his commander ninjutsu is so busted.
Yes,
and
dude.
then they go, oh well, I might just be able to win the game, and they show us Doomsday and have 2 blue mana in play, and we're like, oh,
Probably you can.
probably. And the only reason why it took so long to resolve was because then his buddy said, well, I might be able to counter the THRASIOS Oracle. And then we had to start thinking of, well, how do we set up your Doomsday pile so that you can still go through this line, but then can win on your next turn?
Okay.
And that's what took us so long.
Oh, dude, yeah. Doomsday is, I think, notoriously one of the most difficult cards in all of Magic to resolve 100% properly, and for a new player to do it,
that's what we're saying.
so
That card
difficult.
and Gush are like the two, I think, some of like the hardest cards to ever resolve.
Isn't there like a full book written on Gush?
There
I'm
is,
pretty
yeah.
sure there is.
Yeah. It was a really cool pile that we set up because we realized the deck doesn't have Yawgmoth's Will. So we had to use Agadeem's Awakening, the flip land, actually, to make sure we had 5 mana to just like reanimate THRASIOS Oracle after it got countered.
Did they end up winning the game eventually? That THRASIOS Oracle Doomsday player?
No, actually, I ended up winning the game.
Nice.
Because I was able to, I had Seedborn Muse in play. I was playing Rog THRASIOS all weekend. I did not play
Okay.
another deck that was not Rog THRASIOS.
Yeah, I was playing Rog Silas the entire time. So both of the whole games, Cameron and I were playing Rograk the whole time.
We're Rograk build. It is the
Rograk, all the
best
way.
commander in cEDH right now.
100%.
Yeah, so I won because I had Seedborn Muse for more than a turn cycle, and I'll always win if that's the case.
Yeah, it was such a fun time. I had a great time doing that. We had a Dragon Shield booth at 2 p.m. on Friday where we got to play with some people at the Dragon Shield booth also.
Yeah, that's true.
Sold some sleeves. That was great. At the Dragon Shield booth. Really fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. We played like a bunch of games over there at the booth too.
Yeah, I for a moment, for a day, lost my Grim Monolith. There was a player who, with Ragavan, grabbed my Grim Monolith, and then I forgot to get it back at the end of the game, which was totally my fault. And I tweeted, and I was like, oh no, I forgot to get my Grim Monolith back. And the next day, I ended up getting it back, so it was all good. But I lost my Grim Monolith for a little while. That was pretty interesting.
If you're watching this, by the way,
I was never mad. I was never upset or anything. Like, I knew it was a total accident. It was 100% my fault. I was just like, I want to find my Grim Monolith.
Yeah. There's no feel bads anywhere.
Absolutely not.
It's just like a scary moment when you
Yeah,
realize,
like, oh shit, I forgot to get my
a Grim of all things.
Of all things.
Yeah, like it could be like a lotus petal or something right? And thank you so much, Dragon Shield, for helping us get to Vegas too.
The games. Can we go over like the full aspect of the games? Because I was trying to get 30 games with Rogside. That was my goal. Day one, I got 11 games. I thought I was on a good track. I was 6-5 on the first day. But over the course of the next days, a lot of other things can end up happening. It's there's a lot of shit going on at these conventions. So I only ended up with 20 games, and I was 8-12 with Rogsai. The deck is awesome.
That's a really good record.
Yeah, I started
yeah.
off much hotter, I think, and then as the weekend went off, got much a little bit. My brain started melting after the 20th game. But it was still the deck. I truly think Rogsai is cracked in half. It is so unbelievably powerful. Everything that I do feels broken. It doesn't as long as you keep the hands that you're supposed to. It feels like I'm always doing something super impactful on turn 1 or turn 2, which is really all I want to do in cEDH right now.
I've realized that my deck has a Rograk Silas weakness, and it wasn't something that I had really thought was going to be as apparent of a weakness until I had played. Because I had wanted to play the deck because I'll still have access to Flare of Duplication and Deflecting Swat for stuff, but I can't Deflecting Swat a Necropotence, so that kind of mitigates that whole thing. So really, what I've realized is that all it does is turn on Fierce Guardianship on turn 1 for something.
Yeah, which is helpful. The one thing that I did learn, which is a secret that I don't want to bust for myself for Rogside, but it kind of feels like all the players have to have interaction on turn 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Or Rogside will probably win the game. The games that I lost were either 1, just straight up my fault and I made a mistake, or 2, I only had 2 pieces of interaction rather than 3. And because I didn't have 3, that wasn't able me to get there.
Yeah, because me and someone else could interact with you. That was just enough to stop you and then stop you again on your next turn. If I couldn't do it, someone else was.
Exactly. So it's kind of, it felt like I was putting an interesting dynamic on the game where I was it felt everyone had to pay attention to Rograk, right?
It's weirdly enough kind of like Slicer. What a weird comparison, right? But it does warp the game. You have to play a certain way. Your opening hand needs to be a specific thing because if you don't have anything for Rogsai, they're going to just win. There's so many other decks, especially now that we're in a quote-unquote slow meta.
Which Cameron I still don't agree with.
First of all, there's no meta. Everyone's playing the deck that they want to play because they're trying to figure out how good the deck is post-ban. So there's no meta.
I agree. And I think, honestly, for cEDH, just because the size of the card pool, I think it's going to take I would guess 3 to 6 months before we start really figuring out for sure.
I'll give you a year.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can assume Kinnan, Rogsai, Tim Necrom, yes, those are still good decks.
They're good decks.
But the decks around them and how good each of them are, for me, I feel like I'm going to need a lot of data before I know that.
Especially the tier 2 and tier 3 decks, and trying to figure out, are there decks that do get pushed up into tier 1 once a meta game gets established then too.
Right.
But that's also a year out from now at probably maximum, I would guess. But even still, like I said, I think people are just playing the decks that they want to play because they want to see how good that they are. And that means we saw a lot of different commanders this weekend.
My very first game of the weekend, I lost to Narset, 6-mana one, the original one.
That's so funny.
And the player was literally I just really like Narset. I'm not sure if it's good anymore. And then they cast the Eldrazi extra turn spell and destroy target. Dude, it was destroy target permanent and draw 4 cards. And I'm I have Orcish Spellmaster. I'm oh, no, that's going to resolve in order. order, isn't it? Destroy the Bowmaster, then draw 4 cards.
That's so funny.
It was insane, yeah. And they can just completely went off after that. It was awesome. To, like, my first game, I was like, great, lose to Narset, love it.
We lost to Rocco on turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
This was wild.
Yeah, that was a third game. And it was unfortunate. I tried to film every single person that we played with, and that was like the only game that I didn't film. It was like the first game of Sunday. Rocco won on turn 2, and it was just like so quick I forgot to film him. But it honestly made me think, like, do I want to play Rocco now? It kind of felt like the parts that I like about Blood Pod, but what if you just made it fast, like Rockside?
And make it a food chain deck.
Yeah, like I'm like, this feels like maybe everything I want. So I think I'm still gonna stick with only 2 cEDH decks at a time for right now. But I think I might be inspired to play Rocco now.
It's a cool one to test the water, because the line that they went with was they were able to get Birthing Pod out on turn 1 with Ancient Tomb.
Yeah.
And then that allowed them to get Rocco out for 1 and find Tinderwall, which is like the exact amount of mana that you need. So like I think if you just don't go into the like way heavy stack side of things,
Yeah,
and you
I'm
just
going
kind of like
fast.
like turbo and like do it more of just like a combo deck.
Yes.
I think that's the better way to go about it.
We also lost to our patron Mark Silero's Rakdos deck. That one was pretty notable.
And he was out of the game for like the first
Completely
like bunch of turns.
Yeah, it
for
was
sure.
it was one spell. It's like sacrifice my grief, or something like that. It was like a 4 CMC thing, and just after doing that, it was just sacrifice some other thing, do an Ingot Chew, or sacrifice 5 more things. Like it really went off. And
It
that was
just
super
really
cool to
came
see.
back. It was so cool to see him do that in person. Like he is such a whiz with that deck.
Some other notable things that I'm remembering from the weekend. It was like second game of the weekend. I won on turn 1 Ad Nauseam. I was able to turn 1 Ad Naus, Final Fortune to my second turn and win right there on my turn 1. That was really awesome.
That's fucking sweet.
And then
technically your turn 2. You had 2 turns.
Technically my turn 2, you're right. But there was a Rockside player next to me who never got to have a turn 1, which was funny. And then he's like, great, I'm so glad I waited to play with you. I'm glad.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah. And then one of the last games of the weekend, you were trying to Born Upon win on top of somebody else's win after the Tameo player flipped and ultimated their Tameo to draw half their deck.
Oh yeah, I was trying to wheel so that way like they would get rid of she would get rid of like all of these cards that she had, and then I ended up wheeling into a hand that I thought could win the game.
Yeah, and I was able to Valley Flood Caller on top of your Born Upon the win and Tainted Pact for Underworld Breach and win on top of yours. That was really cool.
That was nuts. That was so cool to see come together. Yeah, because you Ad Nauseamed first, didn't you?
Yeah, Ad Nauseamed, and then after Ad Nauseamed, I still had to Tainted Pact further to find the Underworld Breach or whatever I needed. I don't know. I remember having to like Tainted Pact.
Maybe it was for like the Valley Flood Caller.
I think I Tainted Pacted for the Valley Flood Caller, and then was able to make enough to Ad Nauseam.
Yeah, because that's what you needed to be able to cast the Underworld Breach that I think you had found. Like you found that and Brain Freeze.
Yeah.
Everything came together in that Ad
In a weird
Nauseam.
way.
You just needed to be able to have Flash.
Yeah, it was a game that I definitely felt that I was at. Was that the game with the fairies? There was a fairy player.
Wasn't it a Timnatana stack stack?
Yes.
Because I remember there being a Drana and Linvala that I gilded Drake.
That was that
I
same
could keep
game?
doing my shit. I thought that was that same game with the Tameo player.
No, the Stacks game was a different game. This game, I think, was the fairy. Shit. There was a lot of games that are merging together.
No, you're right.
This is the fairy games because
It
I
was
remember
Orvar.
Yes, it was Orvar. Sorry, I'm saying fairies because he had the fairy that countered when it enters.
Spell Stutter Sprite.
And
What a card I haven't seen in cEDH before. Yeah.
And I was completely hellbent and I had drawn Mystic Remora and I put it on the stack and he was going to counter it with the spell. And I showed him a Pact of Negation. And I said, if you counter my spell, I'm going to fight for it and I'm going to pack back. And then neither of us are going to have these counter spells for the players that are just like drawn so many cards. Like we can work together to stop them, whatever. So he lets my Mystic Remora resolve because of that, because he knows I'm going to try to just counter it anyway. And then the Mystic Remora ended up drawing me so many cards and I was able to do all that Valley Flood Caller stuff on top of your thing. So that one was super memorable for me.
Yeah, that was a good one too. There was also a game where we played another 2-hour game together. That was the Blood Pod game with a Kinnan player there. And that Drana and Linvala fucked up the whole pod. You got fucked up by an early Eidolon of Rhetoric, followed by a High Noon immediately.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, 2 Rule of Laws. I'm cooked.
And
Nothing.
This guy mulled to 3. It was like the perfect setup then after the mull to 3.
Yeah, like, no way. Who won that one?
I won that
you
one
got
because
that one?
I missed lethal, and then he missed lethal, and then we came back to my turn, and I was like, I got this. And this kid that we met was like standing behind me, and he knew the line way quicker than I did.
Coolest kid. He had to have been under 12 or something. He knew the line way better.
He knew the line way better than I did.
He was like coaching you from behind, and you're like, I got this kid.
I appreciate it, but like my brain is melted, and there's like 50 cards in my hand that I'm considering.
Yeah,
and like,
that was
there were
super
a bunch
fun.
of ways I could have gone about it, but like it was just it was such a funny way to end the game. We were all so tired that just like we just both missed lethal at 2 different times.
Yeah, I think I did too. I think all of us, so every single player in the pod missed like lethal of that game. I remember saying, wait, so that was all of us then? We all missed something?
And you know what? And we were trying really hard to help that Kinnan player win the game because we were convinced that there was something that could be done to get Kinnan there.
I think there was a situation where I even told her that there was a Phyrexia Metamorph, and I was like, oh, you should copy the
THRASIOS.
No, I said that you should copy the angel that gives your stuff hexproof, Sigarda.
Oh, the Sigarda,
and I didn't even see that like you had a THRASIOS in play, and she had Basalt and Kinnan in play at the time. I'm like, I should have just said, fucking copy the THRASIOS.
Yeah.
And just no one, the whole table, no one
None of us noticed that.
I just didn't notice the THRASIOS somehow. It was like, I don't know, Magic is hard, especially playing that many games in a row, but it was such a fun game. It was like super cool.
And there was another moment where I was born upon the winding with her Kinnan on the stack too. And that's another point where I remember like we were trying really hard to figure out what we were doing, and we were all like, wait a minute, no, Kinnan's in play? No, Kinnan's on the stack.
Yes.
Oh shit, that throws everything off.
Yes, I also had a situation at LobbyCon on Sunday where there was a Kinnan player who had I was Rain of Filthing and they Kinnan activation on the stack, so I Born Upon the Wind Time Twister in response to their Kinnan activation. But then I was gonna like be able to do something because he was like, yeah, we got nothing. But then my fresh 7 was nothing. It was just more mana. It was just like all mana. I'm like, no actual action. So it stunk. But I did have a brain freeze. So when he went through his Tide Spout line, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't actually scoop just yet. I need you to go through part of this. I don't know how to tell you that. And he goes, brain freeze. And I'm like, yeah. So we like figured it out, and I tried to do the math, and Tyler had convinced me that I should brain freeze before he gets a third activation's worth of mana and not mill him for his entire deck, just mill him for a chunk, hoping that he'll miss some of it. I wanted to wait and just wait until he had 3 or 4 activations or whatever, until he only have enough mana for that, and then brain freeze him to try to hit his whole deck. Because then he gets 4 activations, but that's only looking at 20 cards. The way that Tyler's worked out, I do think that there would end up being less than 20 cards left in his deck. Tyler was like, I'm pretty sure the math was still right, but I ended up milling him before he would have went through all of his decks. So he still had a little bit of his library left.
I see. Okay, so there was still a chance that the 4 activations could have gotten him something.
I was hoping to hit the THRASIOS and whatever regrowth effects he had,
which you have a really good chance of doing.
Yeah, but I didn't hit the THRASIOS. He still got the THRASIOS and was able, of course, and he was still able to win. But so that was a super good game. But I was like so tired. That was
by the way,
20th.
that's why like Tasha's Hideous Laughter is like a bad card. Like these kind of like mill win conditions like that, don't play them.
Any other notable Magic stuff from your games that you remember from the weekend?
We played against a lot of the Master of Keys. I know that. I played against it a little bit at LobbyCon then too.
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember the Mothman. I played that more than one time, which I think is a lot.
We played against the Mothman twice too.
What's your overall take after you had nearly 20 games? I think you were 3 under me.
I was 3 under you. Yeah, so I had 17 games and I did not do nearly as well because for most of the time that you were on that hot streak, I was losing into you. I found that I really do like Rogue THRASIOS. I think that it does have that weakness against like some of like the fastest decks, and it definitely makes me like have to keep some hands and maybe just like also kind of have to like rely on the pot a little bit more. And maybe that's up to me to speak up too and be like, hey, don't lose on turn 2.
That's what happened on day 2 and 3. I think on Saturday and Sunday, I think you were a lot more vocal with everyone of just like, he's gonna win. I remember there was a point where someone was considering giving me a resource to help them stay alive.
Yeah.
And Cameron's like, don't give him a resource. He's gonna use it to win the game. He's not going to try to keep you alive.
Everything that your deck does wins the game. It doesn't interact with me and what I'm doing. It's going to win the game instead.
I know. I think there's sometimes that mid-range mindset of like, hey, let's work together to get us out of the situation. I'm going to be honest with you. The only thing that I'm doing to get out of the situation is winning the game. There's not really a ton. Yes, like there are interactive spells, but more often than not, what's more likely going to happen is if I'm given cards is I'm just going to try to go for a win usually.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked. Thank God it worked. But like,
yeah, but if you don't tell people that, it's much more helpful for me.
So I think that's something I need to constantly be reminding myself because I'm not a big politicker normally. And just I think if I use my words more in games, like that might just be an extra bonus point that could help me a little bit more.
Yep. Another one, I lost to an Ayara deck. We lost to Ayara, Mono Black Ayara, Who knew?
Oh,
Who
shit,
knew?
yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was wild. That was a Poxwalker combo. Did you know Poxwalker has nothing to do with Rad, by the way?
Yes.
I had no clue.
Do we lose to an Omnath? I think we lost to an Omnath.
No, we lost to the player we lost to the Heliod.
Lost to the Heliod.
Yeah, we had this really cool game with there was an Omnath and then Heliod.
Yeah, the Heliod player, that was fun. That was a good game.
That was a really good game,
So many insane artifacts that tap for 4 mana with Displacer Kitten, Flicker, and a Mountain.
Throne of Eldraine, specifically with Displacer Kitten, was like really nutty. And being able to like have it come in, name blue, flicker it, and then have it come in and name white, and then like cast your commander with it right away. And like it seems really good.
Yeah.
But that game, the Omnath player, like we got windfalled into like 13 cards, and the
that was
Omnath
me,
player,
probably.
yes, that
was me.
Well, I mean, it's Heliod. It might have even been Heliod too.
No, I think it was me.
It was definitely you because I wouldn't have had all that interaction in my hand to stop 3 win attempts
from the Omnath player that like tried to win in the game. He was like he already had the Deceiver Exarch in play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was like a 1 tutor on the stack, and you're like counter that, and he was like Neoform on the stack, he's like counter that. Eldritch Evolution, all of them would have won.
This should have been another scenario where maybe I should have used my words more and said, hey, if I have to use all of my interaction on you, you're just going to pass to lose the game. Like, I need to keep some of it so that we don't guarantee to lose right away to Heliod.
Yeah, but that's kind of the same situation with like if that was me and I was talking to you about that, I would say I'm just going to try to win because if I pass a turn, I'm not going to be able to beat this blue-white player who has drawn 13 cards is going to untap. I'm not winning that.
Put us in the same situation.
Right, yeah. So I would just like make you have 3 because we knew that the blue-white player, the Heliod player did not have interaction. They were like, yeah, I don't have anything. Like he was lying,
I don't know I don't think I remembered that.
Oh, I remember him telling me that because I remember thinking, oh shit, so if he doesn't win the game, you don't have anything.
I guess that's true. He was next in turn order and just kept passing to me.
Right, yeah. So I was like, and then when he untapped, I was like, oh, wait a minute. What's in your hand if it's not counterspells and 13 cards?
I remember this now. Yeah, okay.
And he like just smiled and cracked Ranger Captain that he had in play. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so I guess those words would not have helped in that scenario because we would have known.
There might have been a word where you could have convinced him to crack his Ranger Captain on the Omnath player's turn so that he wouldn't have been able to, but there's no real way that you would have known that another win attempt from a non-creature spell was coming out of the Jiki combo deck.
Especially after I'm like, I have something to do about this Eldritch Evolution.
Yeah.
Like, just sack your Ranger Captain now. I think that's a hard thing to get another player to do.
Yeah, definitely. Overall, my kind of thoughts on like where the meta is I don't really feel that it's slowed down per se. I mean, it's hard to say because in some ways it has because like we said, people are choosing to play slower decks because they like slower decks, I think. But I think over time, I don't know, my gut is going to tell me that the fast decks are still going to rise to the top because this Rockside deck just felt so powerful.
I think right now, because everyone's just playing the stuff that they want to play and telling themselves to slow the format down.
Yeah.
This is the time to play a fast deck and get really quick wins in consistently over turns 2 and 3. If you can present a turn 2 win all of the time, and if it gets stopped, present a turn 3 win, I think you're going to have a great record.
Oh, yeah, and that's easy. I feel like truly that's easy with Rockside. Turn 2 attempt is, like, I feel like a reasonable goal. That was what I was looking for, is either turn 1 or turn 2 action. So turn 1 or turn 2, ideally turn 1, and I'll mulligan at least 3 or sometimes 4 times to find a turn 1 Necropotence ad nauseum. Even Ristic Study, Mystic Immortal, I'll still keep a turn 1 of those. That's still good.
One of your Enchantress cards.
I think also the thing that might keep people away from Rockside is, like, I won 8 and I lost 12. But in those 12 that I lost, I didn't do a ton, or like I got stopped early and just like had 1 or 2 cards and kind of watched my opponents for a while.
Yeah.
There were situations out of those 12, maybe half of them, where I still felt I was in the game. But some of the games, you're just going to get stopped. I think that's just going to happen. You can't win every game. Sometimes the odds are against you. Sometimes you'll have 3 pieces of interaction. That's going to happen. And when you lose, it'll kind of be spectacular. At least that's how it felt like to me. But I like that part of the game, is like kind of go all or nothing right now. That's really where I want to be in cEDH.
Yeah. So I think in the no meta, I think the fast decks are going to be the ones that come out on top right now, but it's going to take a while for us to like kind of figure out what the meta is actually going to be.
Besides games, should we talk about the rest of the convention, the MagicCon?
Yeah, we didn't get to do a lot of con stuff this time because you know what, we did do a meet and greet,
dude, which was so fucking awesome at the Creator Central on Saturday at 2. We had a meet and greet. It was so cool. There was so many people that come and say hi. Everyone was super nice. It was such a fun time getting to see everyone in person.
Yeah,
like, everyone was just so friendly and positive. It was a really good time, especially because sometimes Magic on the internet and Twitter can be a little negative, I think, sometimes. So getting to see all the positivity from everyone in person was so fun.
I totally agree. And it's so funny how, like, all of the negativity that happened over the past month, like, none of it was there.
None of it.
No one was like, man, I hate these new bands. I can't believe we're playing cEDH with these bands.
No, if anything, it was like, haha, can you sign my Dockside Extortionist?
There was a lot of that.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, that was like the coolest thing. Rest in peace, Dockside. It was a lot of fun. Everyone was really, just positive and having a good time.
Yeah, and it was immaculate vibes all over the place. Yeah, and we did another meet and greet on Sunday, too.
At the Pinfinity booth, which is cool. They have these pins that have AR stuff. They're really detailed pins and fun. A lot of people came and say hi there, too.
And I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone who did show up to those meet and greets, especially the one at the Creator Central too, because they did have to cap the line. And I know that there were other people that came up and said, hey, I really wanted to see you at that other meet and greet. So I am kind of glad that we had like another space that people could come to later as well.
Yeah, it was a super good, positive, fun time. And then we got to go walk around the artist alleys and the card vendors on day 2.
We picked up a couple of artist proofs. I got a Shifting Woodlands.
Blood Tithe Harvester artist proof for me for my casual Edgar deck that I brought and then didn't play one time. I brought 3 decks, and I remember I said, I was like, I shouldn't bring 3, and I only played 1 deck. I didn't even need to bring the second one.
Yeah, I brought 2 decks, and I only played 1. So yeah.
What about other notables from the convention? Anything you got? The food was really great. We ended up going to Modern Vegan, which was a vegan restaurant that a bunch of people recommended, which was incredible.
It was really good.
If you're in Las Vegas and you're vegan, definitely recommend.
Oh, I left my leftovers in the refrigerator of the Hilton.
Yeah, we sure did.
God damn.
I got fries in there too. Whoops. Sorry about that, Hilton.
All right. Well, enjoy it, Hilton. Yeah. A little column A, a little column B. We opened a couple mystery booster packs too. We picked up a couple mystery booster packs.
You got an Underworld Breach?
I got a Future Sight Border Underworld Breach, which was freaking awesome. Yeah. Loved that.
I picked up the foil promo Calling the Week also.
Ooh, yeah, the Japanese one. That one's really cool.
Yeah, the Tamio player actually gave me a foil Valley Flood Caller because I wanted a Valley Flood Caller, which is awesome, and I refused, and she said, please, no, you have it. She said she had like 6 of them, so I was like, okay, fine. That was super awesome. I'm really happy to play with that one for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Eagle Ruler gave us some left-handed rock size.
Oh, that was the coolest one.
Yeah, I'm really happy to start using that one too.
Yeah, I was very excited.
I guess
about
they're
that.
all
Thank
left-handed
you so
rock
much.
size, but this one is specifically the left border ones.
Left-handed rock side. That sounds like when you send someone out for like a left-handed smoke shifter as like a.
Oh, what is that?
It doesn't exist.
Oh,
it doesn't exist. That was something when I was first joining Boy Scouts and going on camping trips. My dad said, "Don't let the older kids send you out for a left-handed smoke shifter because it doesn't exist." And what you're supposed to do is like you say go to the trading post and tell them you need to rent out a left-handed smoke shifter. And then they say, I don't have it. You need to go to this place. And then they say, I don't have it. You need to go to this place. And like the joke is that the entire camp just like sends you around all over the place looking for something that doesn't exist.
This is like a prank thing.
It's a prank. Like hazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
For a while, I didn't really understand the words that you were saying at all, but now it's coming full circle.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's why it's made up. Yeah.
That's why I wasn't understanding.
Yeah. What else do I have on here? Walked around, Modern Vegan. came home. We came home then.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Larceny Roars, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, Insomnia, SC Phillip, Holden Group B, Gecko21, Caleb Ritchie, Zach Hartley, Reactive, Sean in the Ice, Stormageddon, Luke Cook, Demon of Rosgreaves, Peter Stewart, Cornell Wild, Uncle Butts, Nick Foles, Go to 9, Quad J, Hamid, Lauren Connell, and Baby G-Bus.
Huge shout out to our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Thank you so much for helping us get to Las Vegas. Thank you for having us at your booth and playing games of Magic and selling your sleeves. Go check out our sleeves at the affiliate link down below.
Check out PlayToWinMTG.com for all of your Play to Win merch needs.
TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for more content.
Thank you so much for watching.
See you next time.
Roy Turner, Mystic Muffin Man, Jacob Bauer, Tyler Watson, Zachary Coulson, Tyler H, Maul Craft, Jabaha, Mace the Age, Dalton Poteet, Hobogos, Justin Mansolo, Jacob Depp, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson. Cha-ching! We're back from Vegas. Do you mind flipping me over when you're done checking the sound, too?
Checking the sound. Looking at the sound levels. The Rocco. Jesus.
Especially, I know, I'm getting hair in my mouth.